Generally, when we train our back, we're aiming to train for the bigger muscles to give us more width and size. But in order to properly train specific muscles, we should generally have a good understanding of what these muscles do and what they look like. And by identifying the functions of these muscle groups and determining the fiber orientation of these muscles, we can better execute our movements to more accurately target the right areas. So I'm going to start by giving you guys a brief anatomy review and go over these main muscles and their functions. To start, we have the rhomboids. So these muscles are the two small muscles located between the scapula, and the scapula is the shoulder blades. The function of the rhomboids is to basically stabilize and retract the shoulder blades or the scapula. And this means that the rhomboids will allow you to go from a more protracted or neutral position to a retracted position where the shoulder blades are really pinned together. So you can see here they're squeezing, and that is going to be the main function of the rhomboids. Next up is going to be the traps or trapezius, and the traps are a large muscle that consists of actually 3 parts. You can see in the picture on the left how big of a muscle group it actually is. Its functions are to stabilize, elevate, depress, retract, and rotate the scapula. Many people think the traps are just those big mounds on top of your shoulders, but they're actually a good bulk of the upper and mid back and provide a lot of different functions, as you can tell. Now, because of the orientation of the 3 parts of the traps, and because of all of the functions of the traps, these guys are actually going to be working a lot in most of your pulling movements. Next up, we have the lats or latissimus dorsi. These guys are the widest muscle of the human body, stretching across almost the entire surface of the back. And this muscle has 4 parts with different originating points. The main functions of the lats are to extend the flexed arm and to adduct and internally rotate the arm. You can see that the main fibers of the lats wrap around the torso in a more diagonal orientation, with some fibers a little bit more horizontal and others a little bit more vertical. And because of the size and orientation of these fibers, this muscle can give you more width and thickness. And lastly, we have the spinal erectors. These guys are a massive muscle group composed of 3 muscular columns that are located on either side of the spine. The main function of the erectors is to essentially extend the spine. These guys also work really hard isometrically to resist flexion in exercises like the deadlift so that you aren't pulling in a compromised position. Now to start, I want to go over a single arm dumbbell row because this is a very popular exercise and actually an exercise that my clients often ask me about because they don't feel like they're using their back or feeling it in their back in the right way. And oftentimes people think they're supposed to feel it in that meatier part of that upper back. But if we again look at the fiber orientation and function of the certain back muscles, we'll notice that this exercise actually targets more of the lats because of the line of pull. So the lats, again, part of their function is to extend the flexed arm. So when we're reaching forward and slightly flexing that arm upward and then pulling it back down towards our hips, that's going to incorporate more of those lat fibers versus that upper back. Now for a comparison, on the left, I have my elbow slightly turned out with my hand a little bit more pronated versus the right, which is a typical standard dumbbell row where the elbow is a little bit more tucked. At the top, you can see that by slightly adjusting the grip position and the line of pull, it's going to target separate muscles. On the left, the traps and scapular retractors are a little bit more engaged versus the right, where the lats are a little bit more engaged and the elbow is a little bit more tucked in towards the body. So again, it's important to kind of question the purpose of the exercise, the form of the exercise, and the function of the exercise in order to maximize what you're going to get out of it. Now for more of a visual, I am on a seated hammer strength row machine, and on the left I'm in a more neutral grip position with my elbows more tucked, and on the right I have a more pronated grip position with my elbows more flared. Now this is going to dictate which dominant muscles are going to be pulling. So on the left, because of that angle, I'm pulling more through my lats, whereas on the right I'm going to be pulling more with my rhomboids and my traps. Now this is a side-by-side of the same exact exercise, but one is both arms at the same time and the other is a unilateral movement. And sometimes it's more useful to do one arm at a time to really get the form and function of the exercise down. This is again going to target a little bit more lats because of that line of pull. Compared to something with the grip more pronated and the elbows a little bit more flared out, this is going to target more of the upper back, rhomboids, and traps because of that more dominant retracted, protracted position. We can also alter the amount of tension through a specific muscle by adjusting our position relative to the line of pull. So again, you always need to question what you are trying to achieve and what muscle fiber orientation you want to align your line of pull with. And by adjusting your body position, this will also determine which muscles are going to provide the most tension. There are so many different variations of rows and so many different back muscles that you can target, so always have a good understanding of what you're doing and why, and if not, just do all the things. But if you guys learned anything, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comment box below, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Thanks for tuning in.